I'm now going to show you how to prune our larches. This one happens to be a Japanese larch, and unlike the pines which produce candles, their new shoots are long like this. If you just left it to grow, these shoots here will become a long branch, just as a candle in a pine would do. Mind you, I keep reminding you that the Japanese refer to the larch as the drop leaf pine. The Chinese also call it a drop leaf pine or deciduous pine, but it's not a pine, it's completely different. So this is what we do, we take them out. We take them out completely, because once the tree has established its shape, you don't want to spoil the shape by growing new branches and new shoots, unless you wanted to redesign the tree with a new branch or a new shoot. So all these shoots have to be meticulously cut off each year, and the new growth only happens at this time of the year. In March it starts growing, and April they continue to grow along, and by May it will have almost reached its length, though not its full length, and this is the time we can cut it off. So they've been growing for 2 months, so now is the time to take it off. So if you come around this side, you can see I'm doing this all over the tree. So this is the care of the larch to keep it in shape. So there are no long straggly shoots on this tree. Now let me switch over to this one. Now this is the larch which was loaned to the Japanese gardener Mr. Ishihara for the Chelsea Flower Show. It's now come back from Chelsea, and he, by the way, got his gold medal using 10 of these large bonsai of ours. So again, these are the new shoots. Normally you would prune this, but because it's popping out and spoiling the shape, I cut it back to the old branch. So sometimes you've got to cut back into the old branch if you feel that the design is getting spoiled. Like this one is getting too long, the pad is getting spoiled. So although this is the new shoot, which I normally should do that, I'm going to cut it back to there to create a better pad, better shape of a pad, like so. So you got to look at it from every aspect, not just the short term, but also the long term. And the long term means keeping the pads in good condition, not getting overgrown. I usually start by pruning from the top, because whatever debris falls to the bottom, and I can shake it off as I go along. Now you notice I'm not using my Felco secateurs, because for this task, these sort of scissors, the pruning shears, are the best tool to use. All these different tools have a specific purpose. Some are easier to use than others. I know I could use the Felcos, but the Felcos would not be as precise as these scissors for pruning it. So let me complete one of these large pads, or the complete crown, and show you what it should look like. Pruning a larch is quite simple. Once you've done it at this time of the year, it will stay like this for the rest of the year. And that is the pruning you've done. That's all that is needed. You won't have to do it again till next year. See, that's a long shoot. It's spoiling the pad shapes. I'm taking the whole thing off. So although you think I'm just pruning willy-nilly, I'm not. I know exactly what needs to be done. So this one again. Mind you, I work very fast. I think the scissors know what they're doing. Larches are fairly disease-free and pest-free plants. Unlike the pines, which get the white insect bug called the adelgids, the larches seldom suffer from any type of pest or disease, which makes it a very easy plant to care for. So the new growth you can easily recognize because it's got a lighter color. So all these new shoots have to be cut back. They may produce a small secondary growth, but that won't be as vigorous as the first lot of growth. So once a tree is established and you want to maintain that shape, this is all you do. Remove the new growth. All over the tree, remove the new growth. So that is this top done. And then this side, which is the sweeping branch, again, all the new shoots we cut off. See, what a lot of new shoots here. In fact, the larches hardly ever require any wiring. These pads have formed simply by pruning. How easy is that? With pines and junipers, you have to meticulously wire. With larches, you can get away without wiring at all. See, this complete pad has been created, perfect pad, without any wiring. And it's absolutely flat. Look at that. So you see how much I've pruned already. So I've done almost all the tree. There are a few bits at the back which I haven't done. I'll now take you to another of my favorite larches to show you, because the growth on those are slightly different. So we'll walk there. I'm fortunate that I have so many examples of the different species that I have access to almost anything. Okay, now these were the larches I did for the YouTube project exactly a year ago. You remember this crescent-shaped pot? And these were left out throughout the winter. So this is the new growth or new extension. I'm just cutting the tips out, but I'm also going to create a slightly conical shape. So each tree has to be a tall conical formation. If I had a bag with me, I will show you that each tree has to be complete or perfect in its own right. So it's not just pruning the extensions, I'm pruning the long pads which are spoiling the shape of the tree. You see the difference between this which has been pruned, these have been pruned. See, these two trees have been pruned. Let me prune that one. These are Japanese larch as well. Now this one hasn't been pruned. You see the difference? It's getting completely out of shape. So we've got to prune this to make a tall A shape. So this is now a tall A shape. Same as this one. That one has to be complete. Now this one is a small tree, but that's gone completely berserk. So let's take that off. I'm really surprised that because we left this out throughout the winter and it had 2 nights when it went to -5, And we don't protect our trees. I know that these are hardy species, so we don't protect them. I'm not doing it just to show off, but if you know your species and you know how they behave, you don't have to be too worried about whether it will survive or not. So this side has been done, this side has not been done. You see the difference? So this one I will do as well. So this one's got to be a separate, tall, A-shaped tree. Should look like a tall pine tree. See, that is pruned. This has not been pruned. You see how dense that is? So we got to bring this back to shape. Larches are very satisfying trees to work with because they produce cones when they're quite young, and they thicken up very fast, very rapidly. So although you use juvenile trees, they will become mature in a very short space of time. So that one has been pruned like a tall A frame. This has been pruned. Now this one has to be pruned. You see how this shoot is spoiling the A shape? So I'm going to prune this into an A shape. With forest groups, it's always important to see the trunks, and if it hides the trunk, we can take the branches off so that you reveal more trunk. This one probably growing too much. You see the bud back on the old wood. So these have been done. Now this one is a bit lanky, going funny. Now this one also getting spoiled. So this one needs radical pruning. I'm just grabbing handfuls of needles together and pruning it. That's the way I prefer to work. You all have your own different ways of working. It doesn't matter. As long as the end result is satisfactory, that's all that matters. Okay, so that's been done. We've got to just sweep all the debris off. Keeping these plants weed free is our biggest problem. Everything grows so well, including the weeds. Okay, take that dead off. So that's been pruned back. Okay, now let's look at this one. This one is rather spectacular on a mountainside. And even these little cascade trees, they're growing so nicely. And in nature, you do find trees growing from the edge of cliffs, just like this. Now these are tall trees. Again, I want a tall tree image. So remember, you're just creating an image of a tree, maybe like a pine tree, using another species. And that one, if I can reach it. You see that pad is getting spoiled there. Now that's a gin or a dead branch. Perhaps I'll take that off. I don't want that. And this side, we will look at it from here. Now this tree, there's a lot of activity going on and probably even spoiling the trunk line. See, it's hiding the stem or hiding the trunk, so I'm taking some of these off to show the trunk. Don't forget that the trunk is very, very important in bonsai. Most trees are defined by the trunk line, even in a forest. This is badly overgrown. If you've never made a larch forest before, you will find it very satisfying. They are so easy to make and they mature so rapidly. So a bit of weeding. So that's the forest restored. And then there's yet another one here. This was done on this lovely ceramic dish. And for those who complain that they can't germinate maple seeds, look at this. Maple seedling growing in this pot. I didn't plant it there. It's one of those stray seeds that have fallen in here and they have grown. Okay, now let's deal with this one. This one has got 8 trees. Okay, 8 trees. I've always said that the number of trees doesn't matter. 8, in fact, is a very lucky number for the Chinese people. So this group has got 8, not 7 or not 5. Making sure I can see the stems or the trunks. You see these stems here hiding this trunk, so I'm going to take this off completely because I want to show the trunk. These little sedums add a touch to the group. Again, I don't think we planted that. They just grew from seed. This has become rather unkempt. You see this long branch here, such a long branch. I don't think that was part of the original design, so I'm going to take that off completely like that, as much as that, because it's hiding the trunk. So I'm trying to show trunk. So I'm not just creating the pads, I'm creating space to reveal the trunks so that they look more like mature trees on a miniature scale. You see the chunks I'm taking out just to reveal the trunks of the other trees. As we sometimes say, too much of a good thing will spoil the look. You've got to be careful how you feed your trees. If you are too generous with your fertilizer, sometimes you can get excessive growth. It's not a bad thing. It'll cause a lot of new growth, but you've got to deal with the new growth. Keep the growth under control. Many people have the notion that in bonsai we starve our trees. Not so. We don't starve our trees. We make sure that they're always healthy, but you do have to control the growth. Look at all this tangled mass here. I think I can take all that off because I want to show the trunk. Sometimes when you come to the nursery, you see a lot of things in a mess, and even some of my staff are very anxious to prune everything off. But I keep it deliberately because I want to show it on the videos, because only by showing you what I do, you get the feel for what the bonsai work entails and what the hobby is about. So it didn't take long. So you can see I've trimmed it hard back. It'll grow a little more, and when it's grown a little more, I will then look at it again. So this is now more miniaturized than it was before. Now I will show you two more larch, because this is the thing about larches. I'm not going to look at the pines, I'm only going to look at the larches. Now this larch here is also an old larch, and I'm just pruning it back to shape. That sprouting up there is spoiling the shape, so I'm taking that off. I want to maintain the conical shape. This is a dead branch doing nothing. I take that off. This is springing upwards. I take that off. Let me turn the tree around for you to have a good look. This is the back of the tree. So let's see what it looks like from the front. And that is what the tree should look like. So that is that tree. And then one final larch, which is the larch I made back in 1974, which was 51 years ago I started making this. This was a tree that I collected in those years, collected from a bog in Scotland. And it just came out in my hand. I didn't even have to dig it. It was in a bog, and the bog was drying, and everything was dying in that bog. So out it came. It's taken so many different shapes and forms. It was originally a windswept larch growing this way, and I've lain it on its side to make it a semi-cascade tree. So I've let it grow. It was repotted last year. I didn't repot it this year. And it's not such a vigorous tree because of its age. I reckon if I made it 50 years ago, 51 years ago, I made it into bonsai. So the tree itself must be at least about 80, I would reckon. So all these young shoots pruned back, going to make the tree strong and more compact. So the point I wish to make with this tree is that sometimes trees start off one style and they may end up completely different style in years to come. You got to just play it by ear. If it needs changing in another configuration, another direction, just do it to make it look its best. So this is my famous windswept larch, which now looks like this. So I hope you've learned something about pruning larches in the late spring. There you go.